Good morning again, and it's great to be back. Another day closer to Christmas. And on this slide, you can see that I am still suggesting that this is a really, really, really good book for you to get or give for Christmas. At 19.99, it could save a life, and I would give anything. I would pay anything to have Carmen back. So we go to chapter 7. Suddenly, a family of 5. How do we cope? Our next chapter of life without Carmen was beginning. Everything had changed, and so dramatically. My family and I had to pick up the pieces to try and continue our lives without our beautiful Carmen. We tried, but so much had changed. When we walked down the street and when people spoke to us, it was as if there was a black cloud over our heads. It was like no one wanted to come too close for fear of being pulled under the cloud with us. People rarely said, "Hi, how are you going today? Isn't it a beautiful day?" Instead, it was, "Hi, how are you guys going? How are you coping?" Or, "I'm thinking of you. We're praying for you." We appreciated the kind thoughts because these were difficult times for everyone. We were still grieving, and people knew we were. People I knew would cross the road when they saw me, so they didn't have to speak to me. Others would just say hello and move on as quickly as possible. I didn't blame them, because it must have been hard for them to know what to say. The same thing happened to Ange and the girls. Friends were moving on. I experienced something similar after my car crash. People gradually dropped off, and many were no longer in my life, because their life still goes on. After Carmen's death, many more people left our lives. It wasn't their fault. It's not anyone's fault, because everyone must get on with their own life. Of course, we had many more people who stuck by us and provided us with the much needed support and encouragement. These people allowed us to continue our lives and included us in their lives, bringing normality. Their generosity and acceptance allowed all of us to continue with life. Unbeknown to them and us, it was a healing and growth process that was completely natural. We also received support from the Strathdale Maristians Cricket Club, who together with the Cedric Cricket Club presented us with an open-ended voucher for a weekend getaway. We also received a weekend getaway voucher from the fantastic Canellan family. It is amazing how people process what they believe may be of value in the healing process they knew we needed so desperately. Both vouchers were instrumental in giving us a weekend break, the break we could get away and reflect, recharge, and take a breath. This shift in our lives was a hard one. After being such an outgoing family, we quickly became homebodies because it was often uncomfortable for us to go out in public. It felt like people were watching us from afar, not daring to come too close. I lost the desire to go out, as we didn't have much to celebrate at that time. So home was our haven. Life changed rapidly. Katrina moved back from Sydney. She resigned from the job she had worked so hard to get, but knew she could not live in Sydney. She needed to be close to her family. A few weeks after Carmen's funeral, I flew to Sydney with Katrina, where we packed all her belongings. Together, we drove back to Longlee in her car. Driving home, we saw the most beautiful rainbow, making us feel like Carmen was travelling with us. Together, we supported each other through those tough days, weeks, and agonisingly long months. I made an appointment for the 5 of us to see Ivan Honey, the counsellor who had helped me so much following my crash. I knew we would need help to put things in perspective and to come to terms with the loss of Carmen. None of the girls really connected with Ivan. However, I continued to see him regularly and would continue to do so for several years. We all knew Michelle needed help most of all. She'd seen her little sister in that car, but we couldn't force her to get therapy. We all did our best to support Michelle. However, she had her heart set on escaping the reality of life without Carmen. She had begun planning an overseas trip to Europe, which included visiting a friend living in Greece. Shortly after Carmen's funeral, we began talking about what we could do with Carmen's life insurance. Ange and I decided that Carmen would want her sisters to have it. We discussed things like buying each of them a car or giving them money towards a house deposit. Another option that we floated was that the 3 girls could travel overseas together. From Ange's and my point of view, it would mean that Trine and Jasmine would be there to continue to support Michelle, who was still struggling. I remember sitting next to Ange on Carmen's bed with the 3 girls around us. We discussed this could be an opportunity for them to take Carmen with them and show her all the places she would never get to see. It would also be a chance for the girls to do something together that they would remember forever. The overseas trip was certainly the option that Michelle wanted. With some persuading, Trine and Jasmine agreed they should go and see the world for Carmen. The trip gave the girls and Ange and me something positive and meaningful to focus on. And the planning began in earnest in mid-December. The first trip to the travel agency in Bendigo resulted in the girls discovering that for only a few extra $100 a ticket, they could buy themselves a round-the-world ticket and see a whole lot more for Carmen. The girls went from planning a trip to Europe to planning a 16-week backpacking trip to America, Europe, and Africa. My 3 daughters are backpacking around the world, alone, only months after losing their sister. For the first time since Carmen's crash, and through planning this adventure, I saw my girls with some spirit. The round-the-world trip was booked for March 1996, just 4 short months after we lost Carmen. Before they left, the girls organised a doing the skip party to say goodbye to all of their friends and family. It was huge. Our extended family and many friends made the trek to Bendigo for the party, and we all had a fantastic night. Everyone let loose. My brothers, of course, were a disgrace, which was perfect and to be expected. This was exactly what the doctor ordered. All of us were together again for the first time since Carmen's funeral, and we were able to let our hair down. Although the pain was still there, we at least had something to celebrate as a family. Something we all needed so desperately, because you can only survive for so long in complete darkness. I'll stop there, and I hope you enjoyed that, and our life was taking a turn. Our girls were going overseas. Life does go on. Thank you for listening, and I look forward for your company tomorrow.